Hello and welcome to Club 100's race day extra coverage from our recent heavyweight sprint round at Red Lodge near Bury St Edmunds in Suffolk. Again, this is just a teaser for what we really have in store for the fourth round of the championship in Wilton Mill. There are no proper cameramen at work here, but what we do have uniquely in Club 100 is helmet camera footage from the thick of the action. Coming into round 3, Jonathan Elliott has dominated the championship so far with 4 wins out of 4 in the point-scoring finals, and he has a 28-point lead over Darrell Law. Poleman Daniel French carries one of our cameras and is joined by pre-final winner and third in the championship Josh Pettit on the front row. Eric Mignon carries a camera on row 2 with James Hattersley. Tim Hill and Darrell Law start on row 3. Elliott is joined by Stephen Docker, who also carries a camera on row 4, and I'd like to thank him, Roger Davis on grid 9 and Mike Townley on row 10, and B-final winner Julian Clist on grid 26 in carrying cameras and making this video possible. Dan French drops the hammer and we're racing at Red Lodge. French leads ahead of Josh Pettit, but Pettit runs out wide. He's trying to get back in line and he's been knocked out and drops onto the nose of Roger Davis. There's a bit of a squeeze. This is typical of Red Lodge, it appears, in Club 100. Very narrow through turns 2 and 3. Into 4 now with Mike Townley. Turn 5. Now coming up the crucial turn 6. This is downhill and then uphill. We're back with Clist, who's making ground off the back of the field. 3 wide out of turn 6. Slightly uphill and then the long drag up to turn 7. This is the best overtaking spot on the circuit. Round the outside or through the middle there by Julian Clist. Picks up a couple of spots. Here come the leaders back to start finish. It's French from Mignon, Darrell Law on board with Mignon, who's a bit narrow through the last corner, and he's now having to hold off. Darrell Law gets back on his bumper. Hattersley in 4th place ahead of Elliott and Hill. And the whole of the field comes streaming through into turn 1, pretty much flat out, then on the brakes into turn 2. No way through for Townley. Not appreciated with that move up the inside. Michael Junglin with what I suppose is an internationally recognised hand gesture, one that we can repeat. Darren Townsley side by side with Andy Katzentornis. Back on board here briefly with Julian Clist. Ahead of him, Mike Townley. Closing in once again on Jungling and Townsley. Jungling up the inside. He moves up a spot. Katzentornis runs wide. 2-3 wide through these corners. It's a bit of a squeeze, and it looks as though Julian Clist is going to take advantage, picking up 3 spots on the run back to start finish. So he moves up to 19th place from grid 26, a good opening lap. Townley under pressure from Rob Adlam down into 1. And Clist is going to lose out here to Darren Townsley. Further forward, Roger Davis battling hard with Simon Lloyd and Martin Gurnett in the red. Looking to tip in for turn 6, and Gurnett's there first. He'll have to go defensive. He was narrow in. They're down the middle of the track trying to hold off Simon Lloyd. Into turn 7, hold a narrow line. We move further forward. This is Stephen Docker. That's Tim Hill ahead of us, chasing after Johnny Elliott, championship leader. And look, we've got a leading group now. And once again, Mignon's gone in very narrow, and he's going to lose 2nd place to Darrell Law. French, Law, Mignon can't get back in on his bumper as James Hattersley tries to come through. I think Hattersley had to lift. Back on board with Roger Davis down the inside of Martin Gurnett, and Clist is trying to find a way past Jungling, and he's done it cleanly this time. Down into 2, the squeal of the brakes and tyres. Ballinger and Docker fighting hard over what looks like about 7th place. Townley trying to find a way past Katzentornis, down into 6. Just dips down there and then climbs up towards turn 7. It's a very shallow climb, but it's crucial to get a good run through turn 6, or you're a sitting duck at the end of the back straight. So French and Law pulling clear of Eric Mignon. And we can see a 2nd group beginning to develop, and there's raindrops on the camera lens just to make things a little bit more complicated. Hill trying to find a way past Johnny Elliott down into 2. He's sort of through, gives him room on the exit, and now he's under pressure from Stephen Docker into turn 5. And Law makes French going narrow into turn 6. A chance to crisscross. Is this a chance for Darrell Law to take the lead? Look how narrow Dan French has had to go to hold him off. And this is helping Eric Mignon back into the fight. Into turn 8. Oh, he's gone in very narrow into 9, and it's going to be candy from a baby here. Darrell Lowe hits the front, and French has let him go. No point fighting that one early on. Second group headed by Roger Davis, Martin Gurnett, Simon Lloyd and Josh Pettit. Disappointing for the pre-final winner there. Down outside the top 10. And we're back with the leading group. In the back of the group with Stephen Docker. Nobody wants to throw it up the inside and lose ground on the guy ahead of them if they can't pull it off. It's a very technical track. Townsley picks up a spot. Oh, Clist was late there. That door was already closing. I think he's taking the spot anyway. Elliott to the inside of Hattersley for 4th place. So they're both slow off the corner, and here comes Tim Hill. 3 wide into the last corner, and Hill is through to 4th place. Hill finished 2nd in the pre-final, led it for a while. Now must be looking to run forward and see if he can win this one outright. Whoa, and look at that, Lee Henderson heavily into the barrier. 3 wide with Adlam and Katsantonis. And there's tyres all over the road. I can tell you that Lee Henderson's a bit winded, but is on his feet. Back on board with Docker on the run up to turn 7. There's yellow flags out through the middle of the circuit. Obviously for the stricken Lee Henderson. And that tyre barrier will need to be rebuilt. No red flag, we're still racing. Roger Davis trying to run down John Falls. He has brought the field back together as well. There's your race leader. Darrell Lowe ahead of Dan French, who we run with, into turn 4, 5. Yellow flag. Tyre barrier under rebuild. Stephen Docker trying to catch up with James Hattersley. Taking a look over his shoulder. There's somebody behind, probably Ballinger. Tim Hill down the inside of Mignon for 3rd. Elliott looking for the inside of turn 8, can't get it done. Hattersley on his bumper. Back on board with Docker. Long drag back to the last corner. Yellow flag's out again. Trying to slow the field down. It's so hard when these guys want to race for the win. Now flat out into turn 1. And Hill is moving onto the bumper of Dan French. Elliott to the inside of Mignon. As Docker goes down the inside of Hattersley. Has he pulled it off? Yes, he has. Criss-cross behind Mignon, and he's through. And Falls is round the outside of Hattersley. He's lost momentum. He's had to get his elbows out, but he's managed it. Gurnett goes ahead of Roger Davis, who was a bit upset with that move before the yellow flag. But it was before the yellow flag, and I think Gurnett's going to get away with that one. Well, we're on lap 9 of 14. Back on board with Mike Townley in 20th place. That's Josh Walsh ahead of us, and he's going to out-drag him up to turn 7. Or is he? Oh, the squeeze is on. His nose is inside, and the yellow flag will save Josh Walsh from further attention. French trying to close a couple of kart lengths on race leader Darrell Lowe. Oh, and here comes Tim Hill, and he's through. Tim Hill really on fire here. He's just guesting, getting back in the swing of it for Easy Kart. But he's been around Club 100 since the very beginning in 1993. A wealth of experience put to good use here as he chases a win in the heavyweight A final at Red Lodge. Our first visit to the circuit near Newmarket. I think it's set to become a favourite once everyone gets used to it. On board with Mignon, looking at Docker ahead of us. Feeding the throttle through 9. Get back on it. A long drag back to the last corner. Right, left. Setting up for the run down to turn 1. Crucial to get that exit. Somebody looking over his shoulder. French on the defensive to hold off French. Into the closing stages now. Whoa, down the inside of Mignon goes James Hattersley, late and hard, but cleanly. Mignon back on his bumper. Bit of a love tap. They're still rebuilding that tyre barrier, but I think they're about done now. Lap 11 of 14. This is the closing stages. Dan French has not been able to go with Tim Hill, and it looks as though we've got a two-way fight for the lead and victory. Hill trying to set up low. And I have to say, he's closed in quite quickly. This is going to be a tough fight for Darrell now to hold off Tim Hill for a first win of the season. 3 laps to go, and Darrell Lowe leads Tim Hill, Dan French, Johnny Elliott, Stephen Docker, James Hattersley, Michael Ballinger, Eric Mignon, Martin Gurnett. John Falls in 10th, ahead here of Roger Davis. Davis has got Simon Lloyd and Josh Pettit close behind. Elliott putting Daniel French under a lot of pressure, trying to get on another podium. Doesn't look as though he's going to add to his win tally. Already at 4 in the championship. Back on board with Townley, looking at Clist, chasing after Darren Townsley. Coming round to commence the penultimate lap. And Tim Hill is still half a kart length short of Darrell Lowe. Lowe can't afford to make a single mistake, and Hill is closing into turn 2. Takes a look down the inside, thinks better of it, backs out. He's going to wait for the end of the back straight. It's got that look about it. Climbing slightly uphill through 5, up to a crest, then dropping into 6. This exit is so crucial as it goes back uphill towards turn 7. French has got his head down. Hill pulls out from behind. He's got his wheels inside. Tim Hill leads at Red Lodge. Can he make the apex today? Yes, he can. Just about. He's narrow and slow out of turn 9. French comes back to them side by side with Darrell Lowe. Is he prepared to stick his nose in? No, he's not. Coming round to start the final lap, and Tim Hill is out ahead, but he's got Darrell Lowe on his bumper. Dan French and Johnny Elliott not far behind. A look over the shoulder from Lowe. The final lap board was out at start finish, and Tim Hill has got a kart length or 2 out of turn 3. And that might be enough. We ride on board with Stephen Docker in 5th place. He's got James Hattersley on his bumper. We're down into turn 6, and Darrell Lowe is not going to be close enough to throw a move up the inside of turn 7. Docker takes a look over his shoulder, going very narrow to hold off Hattersley. But Tim Hill has got 2 corners, 2 crucial corners to go. He's made it through turn 8, he's through turn 9, he's got a decent run out the corner, and this is going to be a win, and a popular win for Tim Hill. Into the last corner, no mistakes now. The Silver Surfer, the old Silverback himself, takes a win at Red Lodge. From Darrell Lowe, Dan French, Johnny Elliott and Stephen Docker in 5th.
Well, fancy that. We have to do it all over again now.
Oh, yeah,
well, don't know what to say.
Still
a great race.
So, Tim,
is this win as sweet as the first?
I don't remember the first, Chris. It's been a long time. It was great. Really enjoyed it. Good race.
Your race winner today, winning round number 3 at Red Lodge, driver number 57, Tim Hill. No, mate, you have to work that one out yourself. You don't want me to mention that.